Okay.
So this is Level 3 Review, USPAP. USPAP is the Uniform Standards of a Professional Appraisal Practice, or USPAP. These standards are based on the original USPAP developed in 1986 through 87 by Ad Hoc Committee on Uniform Standards and copyrighted in 1987 by the Appraisal Foundation. The Appraisal Standards Board, or ASB, part of the Appraisal Foundation that develops, publishes, interprets, and amends the standards of USPAP on behalf of appraisers and the users of appraisal services. USPAP Standard 5 is Mass Appraisal Development. USPAP Standard 6 is Mass Appraisal Reporting. Scope of work is the type and extent of research and analysis in an appraisal or appraisal review assignment. Work file, documentation necessary to support an appraiser's analysis, opinions, and conclusions. Certification, each USPAP complaint appraisal report must contain a signed certification, which is an integral part of the report. Statements, statement on appraisal standards are authorized by the bylaws of the Appraisal Foundation and are specifically for the purpose of clarification, interpretation, explanation, or elaboration of USPAP. Statements have full weight of standards rule and can be adopted by the Appraisal Standards Board only after exposure and comment. There are currently no active statements.
Don't read my...
I'm not.
Okay.
USPAP terms. Appraisal. The act or process of developing an opinion of value or an opinion of value. The appraisal practice. Valuation services performed by an individual acting as an appraiser, including but not limited to appraisal and appraisal review. Appraiser is one who is expected to perform valuation services completely and in a manner that is independent, impartial, and objective. Mass appraisal, the process of valuing a universe of properties and as of a given date using standard methodology, employing common data, allowing for statistical testing. Appraisal model, a mathematical expression of how supply and demand factors interact in a market. Are we answering these? We're going to go ahead and read them. Who are the users of USPAP? And I assume the little highlighted dot is the answer. Okay. Appraisers and users of appraisal services. What board develops, publishes, interprets, and amends USPAP, the ASB? Every USPAP complaint appraisal must have a signed certification except B. All USPAP complaint reports must have signed certifications. A mathematical expression of how supply and demand factors interact in the market is mass appraisal model. Statements on appraisal standards have the full weight of a standards rule. The type and extent of research and analysis in an appraisal or appraisal review assignment describes scope of work. USPAP is an acronym for Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice. Which of the following professionals should comply with USPAP? Individuals acting as an appraiser. TDLR rules and ethics. Oh, joy. Registration and certification. RPA is Registered Professional Appraiser. RTA, Registered Tax Assessor Collector. RTC, Registered Texas Collector. Okay, RTA is Registered Texas Assessor Collector. Code of Ethics, violating is a violation of state law. Well, there you go. TDLR Rule 94.100. Registrants must be guided by the principle that property taxation should be fair and uniform and apply all laws, rules, methods, and procedures in a uniform manner to all taxpayers, not accept or solicit any gift, favor, or service that might reasonably tend to influence the registrant on the discharge of official duties, with the following exceptions. The benefit is solely to defray the expenses that accrue in the performance of duties or activities in connection with the office which are non-reimbursable by the state or political subdivision. A political contribution is defined by Title 15 of the Election Code, or an item with a value less than $50, excluding cash or a negotiable instrument, must not use information received in connection with the duties of an appraiser, assessor, or a collector for their own purposes, unless such information can be known by ordinary means to an ordinary citizen, not engage in an official act that is dishonest, misleading, fraudulent, deceptive, or in violation of law, not conduct their professional duties in a manner that could reasonably be expected to create the appearance of impropriety, not accept an appraisal assessment or collection related assignment that can reasonably be construed as being in conflict with the registrant's responsibility to their jurisdiction, employer, or client, or in which the registrant has an unrevealed personal interest or bias, and not accept an assignment or responsibility in which the registrant has a personal interest without full disclosure of that interest.
That's the end of...
oh, praise the Lord.
Yeah, it's just one of the pages.
Phew!
The important stuff. Okay.
Okay. Appraisal. An act or process of...
Wait. What review is this?
RPA Combined Review?
No. The Texas Property Tax System is the review.
How do you know that?
It says it on the previous page.
Okay, the Texas Property Tax System. Lord have mercy. Appraisal, the act or process of developing an opinion of value, an opinion of value. The appraisal district is a quasi-governmental agency contracted to appraise properties for all the taxing entities within the county. The appraisal district board of directors are representatives for jurisdictions that contribute to the appraisal district. They are elected to the board of directors, the BOD. Usually each jurisdiction has a certain number of votes based on their pro rata share of dollars contributed to the district support. The county tax assessor collector must sit on the board but may choose to be a non-voting member. In this situation, another person would be appointed to represent the county. Appraisal roll. An appraisal roll has the property owner name, address, a description of the property, market value, and taxable value of the property. Appraised value is the value as provided by Chapter 23 of the Tax Code. ARB challenge is filed by a taxing unit to have a hearing before the ARB. Taxing units may challenge a group or class of properties, not a single property. ARB protests are filed by a property owner to notify the appraisal district they disagree with the value of their property, description, exemption, or special use valuation. Assessed value, the appraised value multiplied by the assessment ratio. Assessment, the steps a taxing unit takes to impose a legal property tax. Biennial means every other year. Effective tax rate, the rate that is necessary to collect the same amount of taxes as the prior year on the same properties that were taxable in the prior year. Exemption, partial, an exemption of part of the value of taxable value, homesteads, and regular disabled veteran exemptions, for example. Exemption, or the exemption total, is an exemption that completely exempts a property from taxation by law. Generally accepted appraisal practice, producing an estimate of value through an orderly set of steps that eliminate bias and enable testing. Governing body is the board of directors of a jurisdiction or the appraisal district. I&S, debt owed by a taxing entity or interest and sinking fund. Jurisdiction, generally meaning a taxing jurisdiction or an entity having the jurisdiction legal authority to tax. Levy, the amount of money charged as tax or the process of calculating the tax on a property. Levy formula, tax levy equals taxable value times tax rate. M&O, the money to obtain day-to-day functions of a taxing jurisdiction or maintenance and operating. Market value, the price for which a property would transfer for cash if it's equivalent under prevailing market conditions if exposed for sale on the open market with a reasonable time for the seller to find a purchaser. Both seller and purchaser know of all the uses and purposes to which the property is adapted and for what it is capable of being used and of the enforceable restrictions on its use. And both the seller and purchaser seek to maximize their gains, and neither is in a position to take advantage of the exigencies of the other. PTAD, Property Tax Assistance Division, part of the Texas Comptroller's Officer. PVS, Property Value Study, under normal circumstances will occur biennially. If a school district fails the PVS, a study will occur annually. Rendition, a statement listing the taxable property and the name and address of the owner. Business personal property renditions are required by law. The rendition may or may not state the cost or owner's opinion of value. Rollback tax rate. Entities other than the school, it is equivalent to the INS and M&O times 1.08. Special use valuation. Certain properties are required to be valued using something other than market value. Agricultural, timber, park, and airport access land must be valued using the income approach based on the current use, not highest and best use. Tax assessor, a person that has the authority to calculate and levy taxes for a taxing jurisdiction as provided by Chapter 26 of the Tax Code, must be registered with the TDLR except county assessors. Tax certificate, a statement issued by the tax collector that has the taxes owed, including penalties, interest, and court costs on a property. Tax collector, a person that sends tax bills, collects and distributes money for taxing jurisdiction. Tax roll, the tax roll contains everything that is on the appraisal roll plus the tax levy. Taxable value is the assessed value less the exemptions. Taxing entity board of directors, the persons that are elected or appointed to serve on the board of a unit that has jurisdiction to tax. Taxing unit, any unit that has legal authority to levy an ad valorem tax such as schools, cities, counties. Basic responsibilities in the Texas property tax system. Sorry, it's intriguing reading. Basic responsibilities in the Texas property tax system. Appraisal district, tax code defined functions. Discover all taxable property in the district. List all taxable property in the appraisal records. Appraise value all taxable property is required by law. Appraisal Review Board, the ARB, duties and purpose. Hear property owner protest. Hear taxing unit challenges. Hear correction motions. Approve the record to create the appraisal roll. Note. It's a note. ARB orders must be approved by a majority of the ARB members. End note. You said make the notes known. Tax assessor collector, duties and purpose. They calculate taxes, prepare tax rolls, generate tax bills, collect and account for taxes. Jurisdiction for governing bodies, duties as it relates to ad valorem taxation. Approves the tax roll, set the unit's budget, adopts the tax rate, collects the taxes, spends the taxes to provide services, and or pay the unit's debts, approves optional partial property tax exemptions. If a taxing unit collects less than its full tax levy, the unit must first pay its debts. The appraisal district governing body, the BOD, duties as it relates to the district that BOD is board of directors. They establish an office, appoint a chief appraiser, appoint an appraisal review board chair, appoint a taxpayer liaison officer when required, make general policy, provide for necessary services. The appraisal district board of directors does not appraise property. They adopt biennial reappraisal. They adopt the biennial reappraisal plan. Chief appraiser general duties: discover, list, and appraise taxable property. Real property and land and improvement values must be listed separately. Determine exemptions and special appraisals. Organize periodic reappraisals. Notify taxpayers, taxing units, and the public about matters that affect property taxes. Chief appraiser regarding exemption administration. Approve the exemption application and grant the exemption. Allow a modified exemption and notify the taxpayer within 5 days. Disapprove the application and request more information. Deny the exemption and notify the taxpayer in writing within 5 days after the denial. The tax calendar, know this. Appraisal phase, January 1st. Equalization phase, May 15th. Assessment phase, July 25th. Collection phase, October 1st.
They repeated. They messed up. The full schedule is down here on the second page.
So,
start over.
Okay. Tax calendar deadlines, know this. January 1st, valuation date. May 15th, notices sent and records submitted to the ARB. July 20th, ARB approves the appraisal records. July 25th, chief appraiser certifies the appraisal roll. October 1st, tax bills mailed. February 1st, taxes become delinquent. July 1st, maximum penalties and court costs attached to delinquent tax account.
Oh, I'm retarded. They gave the phases, the 4 phases in the tax calendar. Then they split out the dates, so they're 2 separate dates.
The deadlines.
I'm a moron. But not anymore.
Comptroller's Property Tax Assistance Division, the PTAD. They adopt the rules and minimum standards for administration and operation of appraisal district and taxing unit offices. Conduct a biennial property value study for school districts. Conduct a biennial method and assistance program study of all appraisal districts. Give professional and technical assistance to local tax officials and taxpayers. Prescribe contents of property tax forms and uniform record system for appraisal districts and tax offices. Prepares and distributes appraisal manuals, rules handbooks, and other technical and legal materials. Publishes material explaining taxpayer rights and remedies. Value certain businesses' intangibles and allocates the value of railroad rolling stock to the counties. Be able to name issues that taxpayers may protest in an ARB hearing. Appraised value if taxpayer believes it is overappraised. Unequal appraisal of property in comparison to the median appraisal level of other property in the district. Inclusion of property on appraisal rolls. Denial of partial and whole exemptions. Determination that property does not qualify for special use appraisal. Determination that a change of use has occurred on previously qualified agricultural or timber land. Identification of the taxing units in which the property is taxable. Determination of ownership. Failure of the ARB or chief appraiser to send required notices. Any other appraisal district action that applies to a property owner and adversely affects the owner. An appraisal district is an independent political subdivision.
Are you into the questions?
Yes.
Yes.
The Appraisal Review Board approves ARB orders by majority vote. The Appraisal District budget must be approved by the Appraisal District Board of Directors. The Taxing Unit tax roll must be approved by the Taxing Unit governing body. An exemption determines taxable value. If a taxing unit...
Did you miss one?
Oh, I sure did. Who must approve optional local tax exemptions? The taxing unit governing body. If a taxing unit collects less than its tax levy, then the unit must first meet its debt obligations. A school tax levy with the appraised value of $150,000, exemptions equal $25,000, and a tax rate of $1.50 is $1,875, which is $150,000 minus $25,000 equals $125,000 times the .0150 equals $1,875.
I'm just reading off of here.
Under normal circumstances, the State Comptroller's Property Tax Assistance Division conducts a property value study for a school district biennially. No, go back to number 10. Exemptions are administered by the Chief Appraiser. To be publicly recognized, a deed must be recorded at the courthouse. And what date starts the assessment phase of the tax calendar? July 25th. What date does the ARB approve the appraisal records? July 20th. Which of these properties is not exempt from taxes? A copier leased by a church. How often does the State Comptroller's Property Tax Assistance Division conduct a property value study biennially?